Here's the estimation thing. Copy. Estimation, folks. So I'm going to set the table in all of this because it's important. And again, this is pretty simple to do, but I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to put the notes in the comment section. I don't know if you guys like notes, I don't know if you guys actually look at that stuff, but I did it for a reason. So let's talk about this idea, okay? Because really it's an important idea. It's kind of the foundation of a few things we're going to be doing. But estimation, this idea, I'm going to set the table. Estimation, this phrase is really sort of vague, but we want to be particular. I'm going to say this. You might ask, estimation, what do we estimate, right? Here's a good question. What things do we estimate? Well, we estimate, here's your answers. We estimate population parameters. Okay? We estimate what's called population parameters. Now you say, well, what are the parameters? Mu. This is called the population mean. Okay? And you might say, where does the phrase population come from? Well, remember, generally speaking, you have a population. It could be anything. It could be, residents in California could be your population. It could be college students in LA. It could be math 227 students in your population. Okay, so we have all these different data values in that setting. If you want to think of it that way, you can even say, well, what about this class? Very often we use college students, or I use college students. I even use maybe you guys in this class, so you'd be my population. So a population is any sort of group that you're interested in describing anything, okay? And then you say, well, what is mu? Do you guys know what mu was? What was that symbol? We've been working with it. Mu is a what? It's a mean, so it's a mean from the population. You guys know what I'm saying? That's formally known as a population parameter. That's one. There's four of them. And then you might say, well, what's another? Well, P is called a population what? They use another sort of general phrase. It's called a proportion. Population proportion. It's P. It's a proportion. Now you might say, what's a proportion? Well, a proportion is a what? Like a percent. A percent or even a probability, right? Because those are the same things. You just move the decimal. Remember, we've been doing that for a long time. Probability. Okay? So P stands for really a proportion. It's just a general phrase for percent or probability. Okay, like if we said, hey, what percent of the class are women, female? What percent? Well, if our population is this class, we can compute a percent. You know what I mean? So it's called another parameter, by the way. We can take the average age or the mean age. That's mu. But there's two other parameters. The other two parameters is what's called a population variance. Sigma squared, you got population variance. So you might remember that symbol. Sigma squared is the variance. Is that right? And then what is sigma? Do you guys remember? What's sigma going to be? That's lowercase sigma. What's this? Population what? Standard deviation. So these all come from the population. All four of these are known as parameters. And they all have formulas. These are AKA true values. So do you guys happen to know, why do we call these things true values? There's a very good reason. These are called true values. They're true values because, remember, if you take a census, what is taking a census? When you ask everybody, right? And remember that I gave you guys really this in the past, the first lecture, I think, not sample size, census size. What's the census size? It's entire population. Right? Census size when you gather data from everybody. And that's an issue. You can't gather data from everybody. We have that big letter N. Is that right? Why can't we gather data from everyone? There's a big problem with that. Yes, the problem is, here's something you got to be concerned with. We don't take a census because it costs too much money, because you have to gather more data. You got to take, it's too expensive and too what? Time consuming. This is why you have these census every like 10 years in the US, and they only ask you 2 questions, you know. How many people live here and what's your ethnicity? So it's too expensive and too time consuming. So that's why we don't take a census. Then there's something called census size. Okay, so then you say, what's the fix? How do you handle this? You know how we handle it? Instead of gathering data from everybody doing a census, we take a what? We don't ask everybody. What do? You guys know this already. Take a sample. Yes, exactly. So you take a sample. Does that sound okay? You guys know what I'm saying? And of course, you want that sample to be what? Random. And if it's not random, what's the second best? Ooh, note to self. I should put that in the study guide. Note to self. Put those questions put it on the test. Those are good test questions. If you can't be random, then what do? Gathering data, ladies and gentlemen, you want it to be random. If you can't, what do? It's very simple. Think of Disneyland. Huh? Why do I bring Disneyland up? Did I give you that story? I thought I did. What do they do at Disneyland? They gather data. How do they do that? Yeah, they'll give you a survey, but how? No, they don't pick closest to you because that's bad. That's a convenience sample. That's the worst thing you could do. So what are the best things? You want to be random, but it's hard to be random sometimes. If you can't be random, be what? Systemic. Systemic sample. Go by a system. Like you're going to ask maybe every 10th person. Every 10th person, every 5th person. Like even today, if I said to you, you know what, I'm going to ask every 5th person a question and gather data. That's acceptable. So I have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 5th one, here's the question. And then 6, 7, 8, 9. On the 10th one, here's the question. You're systemic. You got to decide that number ahead of time. That's what they do at Disneyland. Because they can't be random, so they're going to be systemic. So that's the second best. So, okay, You can take a sample. Now, you say, why do you take a sample? Because you guys have to have this definition. Definition of the sample mean. It has a symbol. Right? You have to add the data and divide by the sample size. Okay? And you compare that to the population mean. You say, what is this? Well, mu has the same formula. You know what's the difference? Let's get rid of this. The difference is the size. What does little n represent? Isn't that sample size? Little n. What's big N? Population size. You guys know what the relationship is? The sample mean approximates the true mean, ladies and gentlemen. That's the idea. Of course, because it comes from a sample, I'm going to say this. There's going to be a margin of error. Okay? Just to let you guys know. All right? There we go. Compare that to a sample proportion. So we're going to have sample proportion as well. And that's this P with a hat. This is X over little n. X counts what we call successes. This is number of successes. Okay? This is a sample proportion compared to the true proportion. So I'm gonna put population mean. I'm gonna change that to true mean. I'm gonna change this to true proportion. P is X over what? N. Big N. And how does that work? Little p is approximately p. You guys know the sample variance? That has a formula, by the way. This is sigma squared. Oops, sorry. I'm going to give you I can give you a shortcut for it. I'll give you the definition. Okay. S squared. And then you have the true variance. It has a formula. Okay, we've been using the TI to compute these. Is that right? You guys know what I'm saying? And this has a square root. Okay. And again, S squared approximates sigma squared. Standard deviation. Okay. True standard deviation, and now abbreviated SD. Sigma is the square root of sigma squared. So that S is approximately sigma. All right, you guys okay with that? This is the kind of idea behind it. So what are you really doing again with this stuff? We're estimating. We can't take a census, so the best we could do is do an estimate. Of course, there'll always be a margin of error because anytime you estimate, it's not accurate. It's going to be off, hopefully not off by much. And in some cases, yeah, it's not going to be off by much. All right, you guys with me on that? Kind of simple idea. Okay, now I want to say this to you guys. We have something called interval estimates. Okay? Interval estimates. Do you guys remember working with intervals in intermediate algebra? You say you have an interval estimate. That's where you have, for example, it's going to go back to algebra. And I always use purple for my algebra, right? A is less than X, less than B. Okay, we have these. This is called an interval from what? Beginning algebra and intermediate algebra. So there's an interval. What do you guys know about this value here? You got A, you have what? B. A is the what? Lower value, and B is the what? Upper value. That's an interval estimate. Goes back from algebra. Okay, you guys okay with that? All right. All right. So let me give you guys something here, just kind of as an example of an interval estimate. It's really simple. You guys are going to love this. Really simple. Okay. Anybody here vote by any chance? Good. Anybody actually, maybe you listen to the media in some way, or you listen to somebody, they talk about, guess what? I don't know who's going to run for president. I don't even want, let's not go there, but let's kind of, let's not turn it into a nasty environment. Let's say who's running for president? Kanye West. How about this? Justin Bieber. He has decided to run for president. What do you guys think? Is that pretty good? No. Huh? So. Does that eliminate him? He doesn't have dual citizen. I guess. Can you be a dual citizen? Where's the political science majors? It's not my specialty. What's the age requirement? You have to be at least 37? 40? 35? Interesting. Well, it's interesting. You got to be at least 35 to run for president? Why? Yeah, I don't know. And how old do you have to be in the United States to buy a firearm? Depending on what state. Anybody know? Can you be an angry 18-year-old who doesn't like the world? Do you guys know what I mean? But yet to be president, you got to be 35. Can you be an angry person at 35 and run for president? Maybe. I don't know. Say, Mr. Judge, you don't want to go there. I don't. Who knows what doors that opens? Woo-hoo. Anyway, lower value and what? Upper value. Let's not open those doors. Well, I was at the state capitol yesterday. It was kind of interesting. Yeah. Anybody been there? State capitol? Yeah. I was on the 6:15. I was on a plane with Hilda Solis. You guys know who's Hilda Solis? What is she doing now? Is she like a House of Rep? Yeah, I guess. When's the World Cup? Do you guys know when the World Cup's coming on? I guess I heard. I don't know if this is true, but they're trying to do something about homelessness in LA. You know why? You know what the sad reason why is? Yeah. Because you're hosting the World Cup. So now you want to do something about homelessness in LA. Really? Yeah. Oh, really? I don't know. I've heard there's been a lot. Oh, she's a supervisor. Hilda's a supervisor. Leading with equity vaccination efforts across the 1st District. Okay. Oh my God, she's there with Miguel. I actually seen him yesterday. I said hello. Hey, Miguel. Remember me from East? He ran by me. Oh yeah. Hey, hi, Daniel. Interesting. Hilda. Oh, I'm just looking at her website. Gavin Newsom. Anyway, that's what I heard because the World Cup, they're trying to. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that stuff, but whatever. It's kind of sad. I would hope that they would want to do something without it, but whatever. Interval estimates, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Here's what you might hear in the media, right? So we can't say Justin Bieber. Who can we say then? Who's your favorite actor or actress? How about, what's his name? Bad Bunny? You guys like Bad Bunny? Can Bad Bunny run for president? Bad Bunny? Guess what? A survey of whom? A survey of college students revealed that 45% will vote for Bad Bunny. Okay, you guys know what I just said there? Have you guys heard those kind of phrases? You should have, because they're all over the media. At least they used to be when I was younger. When I'd sit in the car with my grandfather and he had the AM radio on. Sorry. AM news. As he was driving, I always had to hear the media. 45%. A survey of college students revealed that 45% will vote for Bad Bunny. And you know what also they would say? This is with a what? Anybody else? What else do they include in that general broadcast to the public? with a what? Margin of what? Error of plus or minus 5%. Now, that is the general statement that would be repeated or actually broadcast to the public. So you know what? They assume the public knows what to do with this information. Okay? A survey of college students revealed that 45%, this is important information, will vote for Bad Bunny, whoever that is, with a margin of error plus or minus 45%. What I'm going to say to you guys is, what does this mean? Put a question mark. What are they saying to you? Because they expect you guys to understand what this means. They expect. What does it mean? Do you guys know they're really giving you an interval estimate? This is what they mean. They say take the 45%, subtract the 5%. Okay? Take the 45% and add the 5%. What's 45 minus 5? What's 45 plus 5? They gave you a lower value and a what? Upper value. So when you're voting, what parameter are they talking about when you guys vote? What do you think they're saying? Parameter is what? It's a proportion. It is P. It is P, ladies and gentlemen, between 40 and 50%. So what they're really saying is this to you. The true proportion who will vote for Bad Bunny is somewhere between what? 40 and 50 what percent. That's what they're communicating to the general public. They expect the general public knows what this means. Okay, you guys okay with that? They expect that you guys know. That's why they broadcast it. And you may not know this. You guys know that the media, newspapers are written at what grade level? Do you guys know? They're 8th grade level. So when they write a newspaper, they write it for, in essence, middle school students at that reading level, 8th grade reading level. So I'm not so sure, I think they would assume too that this information is also somewhat 8th grade, because this is why they make that assumption. They only give you this 2 pieces of information. They only say, hey, they'll give you a sample proportion, and we'll talk about, and a margin of error. Because this is based on a survey. A survey is a what? Is a sample. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that it's probably somewhere around the 8th grade. I would assume that people, they assume everybody has an 8th grade education. They understand what this means. That's the general media. It's an 8th grade level. Okay, you guys okay with that? Newspapers and these broadcasts. So, okay, maybe you don't care about Bad Bunny. What do you guys care about? No, you guys don't. Who else should run for president? Maybe we shouldn't ask you guys. I don't want to create a brawl in the room. And I don't want my blood pressure rising more than it already is. You guys know what I mean? Bad Bunny. How about who can we can? We can't have Justin Bieber. He's Canadian. Who? Oh, maybe that guy, right? Saturday Night. Who? Isn't that from Saturday Night Live? What's another pop media, or I'm sorry, not what do they call that? They call that something. They call it I forget what it's called. I'm on Benadryl, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm kind of out of it. I can't even think. On Benadryl gets me. Those allergies, you know what I mean? You have to take something for those allergies, and they messes you up. I think it's called pop culture. Pop culture. Who's very popular right now? Taylor Swift? Is she popular? She used to be. Right now, at the moment, Taylor Swift is popular? Is that right? Is that why she's popular? Okay. How about this? 62%. A survey, we're going to have to say that. I got to get you guys, used to the language. A survey of a survey of teenagers reveal that 62% will vote for Taylor Swift. For, well, who is president? Bad Bunny is president. I would say for vice president. In the next election. Of course, what's the other piece they'll give you? This is, by the way, they're telling you it's a survey, so it's a sample. And yes, that's, by the way, a sample proportion because it came from a what? It came from a survey. Does that make some sense? So that's really a sample proportion. And they'll vote for Taylor Swift for vice president in the next election with what? A margin of what? Error of what? I'm going to say plus or minus 3%. Okay? Now, the margin of error, they always give you in the media. They tell you that. At least that's what I remember growing up. Maybe there's an app for it now. I don't know. And I'm going to give you guys how we describe margin of error. We use the letter E, by the way. Okay, you guys okay with that? Now, they expect that you guys know what this means. What does this mean? You take the what? 62% and you subtract how much? 3%. What's that going to give you, by the way? I'm not going to get out that calculator because I know what 62 minus 3 is. What's this? Is that 59? $62 plus 3% is what? 65%. What does this mean, ladies and gentlemen? This means the lower value is what? 59%. The upper value is what? 65%. You guys good with this? Okay, I'm gonna even change that color on you guys. I'm gonna put what? Orange. There you go. We got the lower value, and then we got the what? The upper value. Okay, you got the lower and the upper. So this means between 59% and 65% of who? What population? Remember I told you guys? There's a population of teenagers. They're going to vote for Taylor Swift for vice president. You guys know what I mean? Now I'm speaking your language. Is that right? You go, I like Taylor Smith. You guys like Taylor Swift? She's okay. Who else you guys like? Because I got to come out with examples. You like Bad Bunny? Who's going out to hang out with Bad Bunny? Taylor Swift. Anyone else? Who do you guys like? Drake? Huh? He's Canadian too, Drake? They're all Canadian? Is Taylor Swift Canadian too? Anybody been to Canada? Anybody know any Canadians? You do? I hear they're very nice people. Are they nice? Should have been a Canadian. I hear they're really nice, actually. It's kind of true. I heard Canadians are really nice people. They're not like Americans. Canadians. What I've heard. All right. How about this? A survey of who? Who should we survey now? I want you to get you guys a little used to the language. Because it's all about what? Language. It's easy stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff is easy. You have to be what? You just have to focus on the language. You got to do, didn't we talk about that? You got to do your homework. Man, really? Isn't homework help? I'm telling you, my life didn't change until I started doing my homework every day. Changed my whole life. Man. A survey of who? Oh, let's do a survey of teenagers, or is she doing? Should say teenagers? Oh, how about this one? Let's change it. Let's go back to college students. A survey of college students. Reveal that 58% believe in ghosts. Uh-oh. Should I change it to Bigfoot? If you're in Canada, I'd say Bigfoot. Right? Because Canadians live in a forest, kind of. You guys know what I mean? Not all, but. Is Bigfoot out there? Anybody know? Is Bigfoot out there? If you, yeah, your daughter, right? Does your who was it? Was it your daughter? Who was it? Man? Was it? Yeah, was it your daughter? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to remember. I'm on Benadryl. It's not good. It's Benadryl. It is. I got off the plane. I got home. I had a few tacos. You know what I mean? Because I was hungry. I didn't eat the whole day. That horrible box. All I get is a box lunch. I hate box lunches. You get like a sandwich and a cookie and some chips. You're like, ugh. And then I was hungry. I had some tacos. Sounds like ghosts to me. Don't they sound like ghosts? Running down the hall? Like, that's to me how ghosts sound. If I was in a haunted house, I'd hear that. Those girls sound like ghosts out there. Yeah, it's Benadryl. I took some Benadryl and went to sleep. I almost didn't wake up. Actually, my alarm went off. I'm like, I'm going to stay in bed. I'm not going in. I got to go in. If I don't go in, my students will never come back ever again. Because they think I canceled class for the rest of the semester. That's how some people think. They go, you cancel one class, they don't come back ever. Like, well, why should I be here if you're not going to be here? Right? What? I thought you I used to get that. I thought you canceled class for the whole semester. Like, Like, really? You thought, what the, what? And then, you know what sometimes happens too? After the final, some students would come to me and ask me this question: Mr. Judge, do I come back on Monday? We're like, what? Do we have class on Monday? I go, you just took your final. They don't know. They don't know. So I have to explain to them, no, what happens now is I grade your final, you get a grade, and you don't have to come to class anymore until the next class. You got to register for some other class. And sometimes I tell students, well, you can come back if you want, but I'm not going to be here. Do you guys know what I mean? Should I tell you guys some more funny stories since I'm on Benadryl? This used to happen too. After the final goes by, you grade, turn in your grades. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not too long ago, but I used to, like, after spring, I used to get out of here. I used to go backpacking in the wilderness. You guys know what I mean? In Yosemite Wilderness, that's where I go. Backpacking. It's like, I'm gone. I'm going to go out there and fill the trees. And on my way driving, I would get a message, an email. Mr. Judge, I got my grade. Can I turn in my homework? Can I turn in my homework because I see my grade? I'm going to try to do all my homework now. What? On the way to the wilderness. Used to mess me up. I have to on my phone. I had to respond to email. The semester's over. See you next semester. See you soon. I don't know. Bye. I'm out of here. I'm in the wilderness with Bigfoot. Anyway, it's a funny story, but it ain't too funny to me. Sometimes when I hear that, I don't laugh. I'm like, that's not funny. You know what I mean? It's not funny. Some of these things aren't that funny, but they're funny. But when I first read it, they're not funny. Anyway, a survey of what? College students reveals that what? 58% believe in. I did change. I was going to say Bigfoot because if you are around people who live out in those environments, and I know this because I meet faculty all over the state, and some of these faculty members, they live in like that area, you know. I want to go live there, up in Humboldt. Love to live there too. Humboldt County. You guys know what I mean? And they're in remote environments. They're in the wilderness, kind of. Very remote. You're going to find a certain percentage of those residents have these stories, and they believe in, like, Bigfoot. You're going to find that. If you survey them, you're going to find, yeah, we believe in Bigfoot. Heard them. Like, really? Never seen them. Heard them. So they all hear them, but they don't see them. So this is just about belief. It's not about evidence. I got to change the Bigfoot version to ghost because we're not in these areas. We're in an urban area. I might even change this one to, what's her name? What's that lady's name who cries? The Urana. I might change it to the Urana. How many people here believe in the Urana? Is the Urana real? Oh. How do you spell Llorona? Huh? I think it's a double L. Ooh, I don't even know if I want to write it on my iPad. I'm a little, I don't know. We should maybe go back to ghosts. Lloron. What is it? Is it O-N-A? Is that how you spell it? O-R-O-N-A. Now, I've been asking this question for a long time. A survey of college students revealed that 58% believe in the Urana with a margin of error. of, let's say, plus or minus now 6%, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see what that means. Now, you guys know it's a very interesting thing. If we were in a area where maybe we lived out kind of in a foresty kind of area, some of these mountain areas, you're going to have a certain portion believe in Bigfoot. So you change some of the environment you're on. You might even be in the middle of the desert, and you're going to see that there's people who believe in other things, like UFOs. You know, I'm going to say, I seen a UFO. I'm in the desert. So depending on where you're at, you might have certain beliefs. It's kind of an interesting observation. Anybody here know about the Llorona? It's okay if you do. Anybody here have a Llorona story? I've been asking this question for a long time, and I get Llorona stories. Yep. I never heard an East LA Llorona story. Never. She doesn't cross the border for some reason. You guys know what I mean? She never does. Because this is my observation of the stories. I don't hear, out in City Terrace, I was hanging out and I was in the park. You know what, Mr. Judge? I heard the Urana. Got so scared I ran all the way home. Never heard those kind of stories. So she doesn't, I know for certain she doesn't cross the border. The Urana. I haven't heard a story yet. I'm waiting for that version of the story. Do you guys know what I mean? I'm waiting. I haven't gotten that version. All right, let's hear your Llorona story. Who's heard her, or who has a relative who's heard her? Because we all do. We all have relatives who have Llorona stories. What's your story? Yep.
She describes the night that she saw her to my grandma. But my grandma doesn't believe her because she said that my mom was like 8 or 9 months old. Yeah, like when that happened. That where they were living at the time, that my mom was only like a baby. But my mom like describes her the night and like where she was at.
I have a young daughter. She scares the crap out of me. Because I can swear sometimes. There's something more going on with that kid. She seems to be an old soul, very smart. Sometimes I thought, I think she's my mom. My mom's come back. There's something to some young kids. I don't know. So I'm not saying I disbelieve it. I'm saying you never know. Even at 8 or 9 months, you think kids don't understand. They do. My daughter understands a lot. Young. She creeps me out sometimes. I can see it in her eyes. She understands. She knows. She can't articulate it, but she knows. So, be careful when you're around young kids. They know a lot more than you think. Just because they can't talk doesn't mean they don't know what's going on. So maybe. Maybe. Just kind of throw that out there. Anybody know what I'm saying? Something that sometimes I'm like, what's with this kid? She knows too much already. She's young. So I don't know. I might believe your was it your mom?
Yeah.
I might believe your mom in that one.
It's weird. It's weird to me because she, like, I told my grandma, like, I asked her if it was true, and she said that, well, my mom, like, tells her, like, the details and everything, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's right.
Yeah.
And they only lived there for, like, a certain amount of months. It was only a couple months that they lived there.
Well, there's a story about me when I was young. My family tells. I'm trying to remember the details. I forget. Like I said, I'm on that Benadryl, and I forget. I was able to talk at a very young age. And I used to scare my family because I was talking. I was talking like before I could even walk. Something really weird like that, right? And remember my aunt to this day goes, "You used to scare us because you were talking." I'm like, really? I never, I forget what age. I'm going to have to forget what age. So I don't know. There could be situations. So if it says survey, what does that mean again? That's a what? That's a sample. A survey of what? What's the population? College students. Okay. What does a survey reveal? 58%. That's a sample what? How do you know that's a sample proportion, ladies and gentlemen? How do we know that? First of all, it's percent, right? They have percent, that's 58%, and it came from a sample. Isn't that kind of simple? Not that big of a deal. And then, ladies and gentlemen, believe in the Urana with a what? With a margin of what? Error of plus or minus 6%. So what letter did we use for that? We call that E. Is that true? So if you guys remember what I've been kind of trying to train you guys to do, a survey, this is a what? A sample, okay? Let me give you the format we've been doing. You guys want to see the format? Here's the format. The sample proportion minus the error, the sample proportion plus the error. You got the lower value and you have the what? Upper value. You guys okay with that? You got the lower value and you have the what? Upper value. And we're writing this as an interval. They're interval estimates, okay? So, all right, what do you think? What do? We write down what? 58% minus what? 6%. And then you have 58% plus what? 6%. Okay, this is easy stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Historically, I've had students have done well on this stuff, so I just want to throw that out there. What's 58 minus 6? It's 52, right? Okay. 52%. I'm going to keep the interval estimate format, okay? Less than P, less than, what's 58 plus 6? 64%. 52 and what? 64. So the true proportion, because remember, what does P represent? P is the true proportion. So the true proportion is somewhere between what? 52 and 64%. It gives you a range of values because we had to take a sample. This came from a survey. All right? You took a sample. It came from a survey. You guys good with that? And again, this is thought of as being information the general public can put together and make sense of. Okay? Because it's not a college level piece of information. They're just telling the general public, guess what? We had a survey. And in fact, sometimes they're more specific. Sometimes they say what? They say there was a survey of 500 teenagers revealed that 65%, it's back to teenagers. We got to think about teenagers. What do teenagers do? Yeah. Watch TikTok before bed. with a margin of error of plus or minus 2%. Okay? So what I want you guys to always know is what's the format. You got to know this format. If you don't know the format, you can't give an answer. Sample proportion minus the margin of error is less than the true proportion, which is less than the sample proportion plus the margin of error. Lower bound value and a what? Upper bound value. This is a survey. What's a survey also known as? Sample. Okay. Now, they gave you new information. What do you think the 500 means? See if you guys know. You know 65% is what again? The sample proportion. You guys okay with that? As you read it, this came from a sample. That's a big deal. This is what you guys want to know. That's a pretty big deal. Because, like I said, reading the question is what you really want to use to get the information. So it's a sample of 500. What does 500 mean? What is that? What do you think they just told you? What did they tell you guys? Yes, outstanding. And they gave you, ladies and gentlemen, the sample size. Yes. Now, what does the margin of error, what is that? What letter is that? E, big E, is that right? So, ladies and gentlemen, you want to get used to reading that and highlighting that information, and now we get to use it with the format, okay? So we're going to write down what? 65% minus 2% is less than the true proportion, which is less than 65% plus what? 2%. So what's 65% minus 2%? 63% is less than the true proportion. What's 65 plus 2? Now, remember, this P is the true proportion. Is that right? Okay, you guys okay with that? And I want to just make sure you guys have a lower bound value of 63%. And you also have an upper bound value of 67%. So the true proportion lives between these two values. And, you know, we're starting to work with estimation questions, and it's really just going to be using our calculator, but you want to set the table. You want people to understand, why are you estimating anyway? You're estimating because it's too expensive and time-consuming to do a census. So the best you can do is now go out and take a sample, and with that sample, hopefully the sample's random, because you want it to be random. If it can't be random, be what? Systemic. And then now we can do an estimate. This is called an interval estimate. And then we're going to learn that this will be called a confidence interval estimate. Okay? But I wanted to set the table with you guys on this today. It's not going to be on your next test, test 3 on Monday. Okay, you guys understand? It's not going to be on that one. If I was here yesterday, it would have been. Sometimes I wonder, maybe I should have been here yesterday, but no. Yesterday was interesting. It was fun and interesting. I recommend you guys go up to the state capitol and take a look at what's going on there. Like I said, I was on a plane with Hilda Solis. Twice, going and coming. I was on the plane early. She was there on that plane at 6:15 with me, and later at night, 7 p.m. So it was a long day. Interesting, huh? Yeah. Sometimes they're on the planes there with you. So they don't live there. You guys know what I mean? They don't live in the capital. They might just go certain days like that. Their staffers live there. They got a whole staff there already in the offices. They're there, but not them themselves. They don't live there. I thought they did. I thought, yeah, they go live there. No, they don't. They fly an airplane. They got a budget for airfare. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so what's going on Monday? Test.